Barnell, Pedro Carvalho, Julia Budd, all these amazing fights. But today we're doing a full card prediction for Bellator 257, Nemkov versus Davis 2. This is the rematch a couple of years ago, I believe 2.5 years ago. Vadim Nemkov and Phil Davis ended up fighting in 2018 in a super close fight. It went all the way. It was a 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight as it is this weekend, but it was a split decision in a really close striking fight. There was a moment where Vadim Nemkov ended up getting a takedown on Phil Davis, and Phil Davis got a takedown on Vadim Nemkov just once or twice in the fight. Mainly, it was a striking fight. Vadim Nemkov always, landing a lot of leg kicks in the fight, using his head movement, moving around the cage. Phil Davis was kind of going forward. Vadim Nemkov was moving back a little bit, landing little jabs, leg kicks here and there, and then making it a little bit more of a clinch wrestling type of fight in that fight. But it was a really good 3-round fight a couple of years ago. This time around, it is a 5-round main event for the Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight Championship. We have the co-main event, Douglas Santiago Morado and Corey Anderson, also in a light heavyweight fight. The winner of this fight fights the winner of Ryan Bader and I believe Lyoto Machida. Actually, they're going to be fighting Ryan Bader because he just beat Lyoto Machida by unanimous decision. We have Paul Daley, Silva, Homasi, Zirianas, Ortega, Gibson Jr, Marcus Serin. A lot of really good fights. Victor Nemkov. We have Julia Budd, Pedro Carvalho, Barnell, an amazing grappler with like 5 Japanese necktie submissions on his record so far. 13 fights on the entire fight card. A really good fight card for Bellator 257, Nemkov versus Davis 2. But we're going to get started with the first fight on the fight card. This fight is a light heavyweight fight. Julius and Glickis, if I'm saying the name correctly, and Gregory Millard. This fight is a light heavyweight fight. Julius and Glickis, 9 wins and only 1 loss, 29.5 years old. A very tall fighter with a very long reach, 77-inch reach, and 6 foot 3 inches tall, 29.5 years old. His opponent 4 inches smaller with a 5-inch smaller reach advantage than Julius and Glickis, who's an absolute beast. You look at this man. Already right now is ranked as the 57th best light heavyweight fighter in the world. Decision win over an undefeated fighter inside of Bellator in Alex Polizzi. Decision win over an undefeated fighter inside of Bellator in Jordan Young. A 3rd-round submission win over Carl Reed. A 2nd-round rear naked submission win over Clayton York. Inside the LFA, he got a win on Dana White's Contender Series. His UFC caliber is now inside the UFC, beating 2 guys with undefeated records by unanimous decision. His only professional loss by 2nd round arm triangle submission, 4 submission wins, and 3 KO TKO wins. In the striking game, he used that reach and he used that height advantage to make it a more technical striking fight. And when he needs to, he will take the fight to the ground, where he does usually have that grappling advantage and can easily get your back and easily get that rear naked choke submission. Also, has some pretty decent power on the feet. If he's going to get a finish, most likely it would be by submission. It's very likely he could get a knockout, but if he's going to get a finish in the fight, it would be by submission. Gregory Millard, 12 wins and 6 losses. If he were to win the fight by finish, he's gonna win the fight by KO TKO. In the 1st or 2nd round, 12 wins and 6 losses. A total of 8 KO TKO wins on his record, 3 decision wins and 1 submission win. So far, has 0 fights inside of Bellator, 0 fights inside the LFA, 0 fights on Dana White's Contender Series, anything like that. So Julius Glickis has fought way better competition and has beat that way better competition. 9 wins, 1 loss, has a height advantage, has a reach advantage. That'll probably have him winning in these striking exchanges in the fight, taking the fight down, having that grappling advantage, the wrestling advantage. Pretty much wherever you look at it, the height, the reach, the age, the grappling, the wrestling, the striking, the kickboxing, wherever you look at this light heavyweight fight, Julius and Glickis is the better fighter. And look right here, 97% going for Glickis to win the fight, spread out by decision, submission, and KO TKO. It's very likely he will win the fight by submission, and I'm gonna say he's gonna win the fight by submission in the 1st or 2nd round. Julius and Glickis is just an absolute beast. Probably is a future top 5 light heavyweight fighter in the world. He's just an absolute beast. So long fighter, such a tall fighter, really good power, and really good wrestling and submission skills. So I 100% have Julius Glickis winning that fight by submission in the 1st or 2nd round. After that, we have Steve Mowry and Sean Asher. This fight is a heavyweight fight. Probably the easiest prediction on the fight card, because Steve Mowry, an undefeated heavyweight fighter of 8 wins and 0 losses, the 83rd best heavyweight fighter in the world, 28 wins, 28.5 years old, 6 foot, 8 inches tall. That is insane. And a 79-inch reach. First off, has a 6-inch reach advantage, has an 8-inch height advantage, has a size advantage by 7 pounds, is currently way younger than Sean Asher, who is 41.5 years old. Come on, dude. I mean, this is such a lopsided fight for Steve Mowry in the fight. I mean, they're literally just feeding Sean Asher to Steve Mowry here. It's going to be an absolute domination. Steve Mowry, an amazing, amazing grappler with some pretty good striking as well. Every single one of his wins being a finish, 5 submission wins, and 3 KO TKO wins. Joined us at a Bellator in 2018 and 4 wins in a row. First on Americana, first on Kimura, second on Kimura, and a first on TKO. His other wins all inside of Titan FC. The man's an absolute beast. The only way Sean Asher is going to win the fight, first or second round knockout, that is pretty much it. 13 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. 7 KO TKO wins, 2 submission wins, and 4 decision wins. I don't really care. I really don't care. Steve Mowry, amazing height, amazing reach, amazing age. I mean, come on, he's 41 years old. He is going to be the stronger fighter, the heavier fighter, the bigger reach, the better height, the better grappler, the better striker. I mean, just like the last fight for Bellator 257 in the first fight of the night, with Julius Glickis and Gregory Millard, it's going to be a domination. Steve Mowry all around, everywhere you look into the fight, there is no way Sean Asher is going to win the fight. I will not be surprised if the betting odds for this fight are going to be like minus 1,500, because that is how much I believe Steve Mowry is going to win the fight. But it is the heavyweight division. You do have Sean Asher, who has a lot of knockouts on his record. Could possibly get a knockout, who knows, but it's not going to happen. He's so tall, he's so lengthy, amazing striking, amazing grappling. Steve Mowry, by finishing the first round, submission, TKO, KO, whatever the case may be, it's just going to be an absolute domination from Steve Mowry in his, I believe, 5th fight inside of Bellator, but the man's an absolute beast. A future heavyweight title challenger inside of Bellator, in my opinion. I mean, the man's an absolute beast, 100%. And then we have Saul Rogers and Maz Barnell in a featherweight fight. Both fighters have 14 wins and 3 losses. 5'10" tall, 71-inch reach, so he does have the height advantage. He does have the reach advantage, but Mads Barnell, I mean, he's just an absolute beast. He has like 5 or 6 Japanese necktie submissions on his record. Japanese necktie, second round submission, first round Japanese necktie, first round Japanese necktie, and then I believe he had 1 Japanese necktie or earlier in his career. I mean, the man's an absolute beast. I mean, he has like, I believe, 8 or 9 submissions, 8 submission wins on his record, 1 knockout win, and 5 decision wins. You guys already know what he's gonna do in the fight. He's gonna go for the takedown. He's trying to get you down, and he's trying to make it a grappling fight and get a submission in the first or second round. That is what Mads Barnell is gonna be trying to do in the fight. But you got a guy like Saul Rogers, who also has some very good wrestling and some very, very good grappling skills. Most of his wins coming by submission in the first or second round. 10 submission wins, 6 decision wins, and 1 knockout win. The reason there are 17 fights right here, that is 1. He had a couple of fights on the Ultimate Fighter, beating some really good fighters on the Ultimate Fighter, like Ryan Hall, Billy Quarantillo, and Marcin Wierzosek. The man's an absolute beast as well. First on a dark show submission, first on her naked. Lost 2 fights by second round guillotine and Daniel Weichel by unanimous decision. Both fighters here in this featherweight fight right here have really good grappling and very good wrestling. But I mean, it's just who has the better wrestling, and I 100% have Mads Barnell as the better wrestler. Now, Saul Rogers may have a little bit better maybe a little bit better wrestling, but Mads Barnell's submission skills are insane, man. Like 4 or 5 Japanese neckties. The man's an absolute beast. 85% going for Barnell to win the fight, mainly by submission. 15% going Rogers to win the fight by submission. Who knows? Maybe Rogers goes out there, gets a lot of takedowns, defends the submission on top of Mads Barnell, and makes it more of a wrestling-based fight, just defending those submissions and wins the fight by decision. But because Mads Barnell is he's just such an amazing grappler, I have no problem thinking he's gonna go out there and get the fight down as soon as possible. Go for submission after submission after submission, and most likely, in my opinion, win the fight by submission in the first or second round. I mean, Mads Barnell is an absolute beast. But after that, we have a short notice fight in Pedro Carvalho and JJ Wilson. This fight is a featherweight fight. Pedro Carvalho, let's see who he was supposed to fight. Daniel Weichel, but up comes JJ Wilson on short notice. He's an amazing striker. 7 wins and 0 losses. A very long fighter. A very tall fighter as well in the fight. Currently 5'11" tall, so the same height as Pedro Carvalho, but a 74-inch reach will definitely play a factor in the striking game against Pedro Carvalho in the fight. He is the younger fighter and 23 and 1.5 years old. Pedro Carvalho, 25 and 1.5 years old. So no real age advantage. Just that reach advantage for JJ Wilson in the fight. Pedro Carvalho, in my opinion, has a little bit better grappling than JJ Wilson does. But JJ Wilson in the striking game, The man's an absolute beast. 7 wins and 0 losses. First round rear naked choke submission. First round rear naked choke submission. First round knockout. First round rear naked choke submission. A second round submission. A decision win and a first round TKO win over Sergio Debari. The betting odds for the fight, I believe, are very, very close, with Pedro Carvalho as a minus 145 favorite, I believe, in the... Sorry, I had a burp. A minus 145 favorite in the fight. He is a very, very good grappler. Most of his wins are coming by submission, I believe. 6 submission wins, 3 decision wins, and 2 KO TKO wins. So it's either Pedro Carvalho gets the fight at the ground and makes it more of a grappling and wrestling type of fight. He also has some pretty good striking as well. That is why he is the favorite, because he is going to have that grappling advantage and also has very, very good striking and can definitely compete with a guy like JJ Wilson. But in my opinion, JJ Wilson is going to have that striking advantage. Is going to have the grappling disadvantage, but he does have the 74-inch reach, which in the striking game is a lot in the striking game against Pedro Carvalho. The striking is going to be very even. I will give the edge to JJ Wilson. The grappling also is going to be very, very even. This is a very, very even fight, but you have to take into consideration this fight is a short notice fight. Pedro Carvalho was supposed to be fighting Daniel Weichel, and now on short notice, JJ Wilson will be stepping in. It's just a really, really close fight. If this fight, if JJ Wilson had a full training camp, I'd probably be going JJ Wilson 100% to win the fight. But I think it's a much closer fight, considering this is a short notice fight against Pedro Carvalho, a top 5 featherweight fighter in the world, on short notice. That is a really tall task for JJ Wilson to do on short notice. But this should be a very, very interesting striking fight, a very interesting grappling fight. I might be going with the underdog here. I did say that if this was a if JJ Wilson did have the full camp against Pedro Carvalho, that he would 100% win the fight. But I still think that JJ Wilson is an absolute beast in his striking, has the reach advantage. It's just an amazing striker, has very, very good grappling as well. So I think the grappling is going to be very, very even. But in the striking game, with that reach advantage, with his head movement, with his movement in the striking game, he moves so well, so I think he will do much better in the striking game. Defense on the takedowns and keep the fight on the feet for the most part. And this is the first underdog I have for Bellator 257. And I have JJ Wilson winning the fight, an undefeated featherweight fighter in this fight, winning the fight by unanimous decision. Should be an amazing, very, very close featherweight fight between Pedro Carvalho and JJ Wilson. But I do have JJ Wilson winning the fight by unanimous decision. I really don't know what Bellator is thinking right now. Julia Budd and Diana Silva, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, Julia Budd, 14 wins, 3 losses. Her only professional loss, get this, guys, her only 3 professional MMA losses to Chris Cyborg by 4th round knockout, Ronda Rousey, one of the best MMA fighters of all time, and Amanda Nunes, also the best MMA fighter in the women's divisions there has ever been. You got Chris Cyborg, a Bellator champion right now, a former UFC featherweight champion. You have Amanda Nunes, the best featherweight and bantamweight fighter of all time. You have Ronda Rousey, one of the best fighters of all time. Those are her only professional MMA losses. She beat Jermaine the Randomy, joined inside of Bellator in 2015. Decision win over Gabriel Holloway. Beat Arlene Blanco again. Talita Nogueira, Olga Rubin. Lost to Chris Cyborg, obviously. Beat Jessie Miel. I mean, her striking is so good. She has so much power in the striking game. I'm not surprised by this number right here. Minus 675 as a humongous favorite in the fight. She does have the height advantage. She does have the reach advantage. She does have the size advantage. As Diana Silva is moving up from the bantamweight division to the featherweight division though. Domination though, come on guys, there's no way Julia Budd is gonna lose a fight. 14 wins, 3 losses. I'm going against Diana Silva, who has 9 wins, 5 losses. Has been fighting some pretty decent competition like Jennifer Maia, Juliana Lima, those type of girls, but she has never fought inside of Bellator, and in her first fight inside of Bellator is gonna be fighting Julia Budd. I just don't see it. I really do not see it. Julia Budd is going to go out there, dominate the fight. This is a 3-round fight. I think she's going to dominate the fight in the striking game. Wherever the fight goes, she's going to dominate the fight. 97% going Julia Budd to win the fight. Some people are saying she's going to win the fight by KO TKO. A lot of people are saying she's going to win the fight by unanimous decision. I'm going to say she's going to win the fight by TKO in the second round. It's going to be an absolute domination against Diana Silva, who honestly is no match for Julia Budd. It's going to be an absolute domination for Julia Budd in the fight. So 100%, Julia Budd by second round TKO or by unanimous decision. And then we have a light heavyweight fight with a grappler and a very, very good striker. Carla Braxton is probably the striker in the fight. 10 wins and 3 losses. Guess what, guys? He ended up beating Vadim Nemkov at the beginning of his career back in 2016 by split decision. The only person besides, I'm not sure who the other person is, but he's one of the only persons to beat Vadim Nemkov in a professional MMA fight, which is absolutely insane. The other guy is Yuri Prohaska, who is probably going to be fighting for the UFC light heavyweight belt in the next couple of years. But Carl Braxton, 10 wins and 3 losses, a lot of knockouts on his record, 5 KO TKO wins and 3 submission wins and 2 decision wins. His opponent, man, 78 inches, 6 foot 1 inch tall. He is 34 years old. Viktor Nemkov is an absolute beast. The man has so many submissions on his record, 14 submission wins, 12 decision wins, and 4 KO TKO wins. If he gets this fight to the ground, he's probably going to get a submission, probably going to get a TKO. Most likely could be able to finish the fight in this fight against a guy like Carla Braxton. This should be a very, very interesting fight. I think Carla Braxton is going to win the fight by KO TKO in the first round, or Viktor Nemkov is going to dominate the fight on the ground. Getting takedown over and over and over again, go for submission after submission after submission, go for a lot of ground and pound, and win the fight by unanimous decision, or first or second round, KO TKO or submission. I mean, Viktor Nemkov, if he gets you down, he's gonna win the fight. It's just that simple, guys. But if Carl Braxton can keep the fight on the feet, it's gonna be a very, very even striking fight, because Viktor Nemkov does have a very, very long reach of 78 inches, so the striking game will be very, very even. But in the grappling game, obviously Viktor Nemkov has the advantage, has the grappling advantage, has the ground and pound advantage, has the wrestling advantage, all the things like that. So I think Viktor Nemkov is going to go out there, go for takedown after takedown after takedown, submission after submission after submission, ground and pound over and over and over again, and win the fight by 30-27, possibly by 30-26 unanimous decision. 100% Viktor Nemkov winning that fight. And then after that, we have a featherweight fight. John the Jesus, 13 wins and 9 losses against Alfred Kasayan, if I am saying the name correctly. If you guys see this record right here, 13 wins and 9 losses, it might be a little bit deceiving, because those 9 losses, Aaron Pico, Bill Algeo, Pat Zabatini, Danny Chavez, Jason Suarez, Billy Quarantillo, Aaron Phillips inside the UFC, Billy Quarantillo inside the UFC, Jason Suarez inside of the PFL, Danny Chavez inside of the UFC, Pat Sabatini inside of the UFC, Bill Algeo inside of the UFC, and then Aaron Pico inside of Bellator. I mean, all these guys that he lost to are very, very legit competition. If you look at his wins, 5 KO TKO wins, 2 submission wins, and 6 decision wins. Alfred Kasayan, if I'm saying the name correctly again, 11 wins and 5 losses. Also has a really, really good striking. Let's see how many wins. 11 wins. Every single win by KO TKO. None of his wins have gone all the way. None of them coming by submission. None of them coming by decision. Every single one being a KO TKO. He's literally fought Ricardo Ramos, Juan Archuleta, the current Bellator bantamweight champion. He fought Ricardo Ramos, who's inside the UFC right now. Sean O'Malley, a top 15 bantamweight fighter in the world, and then Sergio Pettis, a former Bellator bantamweight champion. I mean, come on. Both fighters have only lost to absolute beasts in the bantamweight, in the flyweight division. Both fighters are amazing strikers. 30 and a half years old and 32 and a half years old. A little height advantage there, and a humongous reach advantage for John DeJesus in the fight. But the thing is, even though he has a reach advantage, even though he has a height advantage, Alfred Kasayan, I mean, the man's power is unmatched. 11 knockouts out of 11 professional MMA wins. He's so fast in his striking game. He has so much power. Has amazing ground and pound. Some pretty good wrestling, some pretty good grappling. John DeJesus also has some very, very good power, but is not really a fast striker in this fight. I think the striking is going to be very, very even, but Alfred Kasayan is so fast, so powerful, and if he lands just one punch, it's going to be game over for John DeJesus, and that is exactly what I think is going to happen in the fight. If Alfred Kasayan winning this fight by KO TKO in the first or second round, should be an amazing fight that 100% is going to be ending from either fighter by first or second round, KO or TKO. That should be an amazing featherweight fight right there. After that, you have DeMarcus Jackson, who's a very, very good striker with some decent grappling and some decent wrestling skills against Kraken Bozinian, if I'm saying the name correctly, who is 100% a like straight up grappler. 10 wins and 4 losses. So many submission wins on his record. 6 submission wins and 3 KO/TKO wins. Every single one of his wins being a finish in the first or second round. He is 25 and a half years old, 6 foot tall. DeMarcus Jackson, much smaller and a much smaller reach, but the man striking is really, really good. 11 wins and 4 losses. 30 and 1.5 years old in the welterweight division. His opponent, Kraken Bozinian, is moving down from the middleweight division to the welterweight division to fight DeMarcus Jackson in the fight. This should be very, very interesting. The betting odds right here and the tabletry predictions are really, really close. 45% and 55%. A really, really close fight on the betting odds and the tabletry predictions. But DeMarcus Jackson, 11 wins and 4 losses. If you look at how he wins the fights, 5 submission wins and 4 decision wins and 2 KO/TKO wins on his record so far as a professional MMA fighter. Has fought inside of the LFA for a little bit, a couple of fights right there, and beat Bryce Logan inside of Bellator, beat Hamilton Ash by first round knockout, beat Bobby Lee by first round guillotine, lost 2 fights in a main event and in a co-main event inside of LFA, a first round knockout by split decision, and then a first round submission win over Adrian Hajabish. The thing is, I do think that Kraken Bozinian has some pretty good grappling, has some decent striking. DeMarcus Jackson has better striking and some very, very, very even grappling and wrestling to Kraken Bozinian in the fight. But Kraken Bozinian has not fought for a while. He's literally only had 2 professional MMA fights in the last 4 years so far. And they've both been losses. He hasn't been really fighting. His last fight was about a year and a half ago. He's just, I don't know what he's been doing in this last year and a half. Only 2 fights in the last 4 years. DeMarcus Jackson's submission and wrestling skills have been improving so much in the last couple of years. His striking also has been improving. I think the striking is going to be very, very even. The grappling also is going to be very, very even. That is why this fight is such a close fight. On the tabletry predictions and all the betting odds for this fight, it's going to be very, very close. But DeMarcus Jackson has been fighting a lot. I mean, in the last 4 years, the amount of time that Kraken has only had 2 professional MMA fights, he's literally had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total fights in the time that Kraken has only had 2 professional MMA fights. That's a lot more fights in the same amount of time. I think he will have the striking advantage. I think grappling is going to be very, very even. It's just a very, very even fight overall. I think it's going to be a 29-28 decision for either fighter in the fight. I almost do not want to make a prediction for this one because it is so close in the grappling and in the striking game. But I am going to give a slight edge to DeMarcus Jackson just because I don't really know what Kraken Bozinian has been doing for the past 4 years on a 2-fight losing streak. Not really doing too good in his last couple of fights. DeMarcus Jackson has been improving so much, so I'm going to be going with DeMarcus Jackson to win the fight by 29-28 unanimous decision in a really close welterweight fight right here. After that, I think we have a domination right here. Lance Gibson Jr. and Marcus Serin. I'm going to say it right now. Lance Gibson Jr. by domination. 3 wins, 0 losses. 26 years old. 5'10" tall. 72-inch reach. Gonna go for takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown over and over again. I'm getting a buttload of ground. If I go for submission after submission, that is his game plan. Marcus Serin is gonna try to get the fight on the feet. He has some pretty good grappling skills as well. But Lance Gibson Jr., the man's ground and pound, the man's wrestling, the man's submission skills are amazing. That's all I gotta say for Lance Gibson Jr. for the fight. And again, Lance Gibson Jr. is 26 years old. Marcus Serin is 39, almost 40 years old right now. That is a humongous age advantage. Lance Gibson Jr. is going to get a buttload of takedowns, get a lot of ground and pound, and finish this fight. Everyone thinks this fight is going to be a finish. I 100% think this fight is going to be a finish for Lance Gibson Jr. 100%. So I definitely have him winning the fight by KO or TKO in the first or second round. And then we go on to the main card of Bellator 257. We have Vadim Nemkov, Phil Davis, Corey Anderson, Dovlasani Morado. We have Paul Daley, Silva Homasi, the Zirianas, and Bert Ortega. A lot of really good fights on the main card. Bellator 257. In the first fight on the main card, we have a striker and a grappler right here. The Zirianas, 31 years old, 5'4" inches tall. She's definitely the grappler in the fight. Has some pretty good submission skills, and also has some pretty good striking. 2 submission wins, 2 decision wins, and 1 knockout win. Vader Ortega, 5 wins and 4 losses. Lima Lane McFarland, Alejandra Lara, beat Denise Kiel-Hosa, and Millie Dakota, beat Brooke Mayo, lost to Bruna Ellen. She's been fighting inside of the Bellator for quite a while now, since 2016. This fight is probably a 50-50 fight, because if Vader Ortega keeps the fight on the feet, she most likely will win the fight by unanimous decision or get a KO TKO in the first or second round. But if the Zirianas can get the fight to the ground, where she definitely has the grappling and the wrestling advantage, she will win the fight by submission in the first round or win the fight in a dominant unanimous decision. So one of those two things is gonna happen in the fight, either a knockout or a unanimous decision for Vader Ortega in the fight, or a submission or a unanimous decision win for the Zirianas in the fight. And I gotta admit, the striking for this fight is pretty even. The Zirianas can definitely compete with Vader Ortega in the fight, and when you got a girl like Vader Ortega, who is going out there and trying to finish you with strikes in the fight, trying to get that knockout, you kind of tend to overcommit just a little bit. That's been one of her weaknesses in her last 2 fights with Alejandra Lara and Lima Lake McFarland. I mean, Lima Lake McFarland, every single time she'd overcommit, she'd just go for the takedown, get her down, and dominate her on the ground. I think the exact same thing is gonna happen in this women's flyweight or strawweight fight right here. I think this Zirianas is gonna get a takedown in the first round, get her down, get some ground and pound, go for some submissions, win the first round. In the second round, the same exact thing, and in the third round, the same exact thing. I think every single one of these rounds, the Zirianas is gonna get a takedown, get her down, go for some ground and pound, go for submissions, and win this fight by 30-27 unanimous decision in her first fight inside of Bellator. That should be a very, very interesting flyweight fight right there. KO TKO. That is literally all I have to say. We have Paul Daley and Saba Homasi. KO TKO. I mean, this is an amazing fight in the welterweight division. Paul Daley, 42 wins, 17 losses, and 2 draws. The man has been fighting since, I believe, 2003, sorry. Has so much finishes on his record. Look right here. 31 KO TKO wins, 2 submission wins, and 9 decision wins ever since he joined the side of Bellator. In 2015, decision win, first knockout, decision win, or decision loss, first knockout, second round knockout, decision win, and a second round knockout right there against Syed Awad. I mean, the man's striking is just so crazy, so fast, so powerful, with 30 plus KO TKO wins on his entire record. He has an amazing reach of 76 inches. I mean, come on. The man is an absolute beast. Even though he is 38 years old, at the time of this fight, he is just so powerful. Such an amazing striker. And then you got Saba Homasi, 15 wins and 8 losses. Has been finished by KO TKO 5 times in his professional MMA career. Lost the other 2 by submission, and then 2 by unanimous decision. Has a couple of wins. 10 KO TKO wins, 2 submission wins, and 3 decision wins. In my opinion, Saba Homasi is going to get the knockout, or Paul Daley is going to get the knockout. It's really that simple. Both fighters have really good striking, and Saba Homasi does not really have the best chin. Has been knocked out 5 times already in his professional MMA career, and Paul Daley sees the guy who's been knocked out already 5 times, and he has 31 knockouts on his record. He's gonna go out there and he's licking his mouth because he knows if he lands one shot on Saba Homasi, he's gonna put him down and land a lot of ground and pound and finish him in the first, second round. So that is exactly what I think is gonna happen in this fight. Paul Daley is gonna go out there, knock him down with a straight right hand, get him down, land a lot of ground and pound shots, and finish him in the second round by TKO. I think it's gonna be an amazing fight. Both fighters have so much finishes. 66% of his fights ending by finish. 75% of his fights ending by finish. I mean, it's absolutely insane. This fight's gonna be an amazing welterweight fight, but I do have Paul Daley winning the fight by second round TKO in this welterweight fight in the co-main event for Bellator 257. And now for the co-main event, this fight is a 5-round co-main event. Corey Anderson and Dovlet Yaksha Morado. This fight is for the tournament quarterfinals. In the co-main event in a light heavyweight fight. Corey Anderson, and a really good striker with a lot of finishes by KO TKO, and has a really good wrestling. You saw that last fight with Melvin Manhoef. He went for a takedown after takedown, got him down, and dominated him on the ground and knocked him out in the second round with elbows. I mean, that one is absolutely dominating. Before that, it was inside of the UFC. Lost to Jan Blachowicz by first round knockout. Beat Johnny Walker, beat Lalir Latifi, Glover Teixeira, Patrick Cummings, beat Sean O'Connell, Tom Lawler, Fabio Mondenla, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name correctly, beat Jan Blachowicz, fought John Vellante, Mauricio Shogun Hua, Jimmy Manuel of V St. Pro. He's been fighting some legit competition his whole entire career. Right now, he has 14 wins and 5 losses. Most of his wins coming by KO TKO or by unanimous decision. 6 KO TKO wins and 11 decision wins on his record so far. He is gonna have the height advantage and he is gonna have that reach advantage in the fight. 6'3" tall, so a 4-inch height advantage, and he's 79-inch reach. Not really sure what Dolesani actually Morado's reach is, but I assume 100% he's gonna have that reach advantage in the fight. No real age advantage. They're both 31.5 years old. Corey Anderson is the favorite in the fight, which is definitely understandable. He has really good striking. Is he taller fighter? Is he more lengthy fighter? Has really good wrestling. And Dolesani Morado is no slouch coming from the ACA and ACB, M1, all those organizations over there in Russia. 18 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. 11 KO TKO wins, 4 submission wins, and 3 decision wins. The man has some power, man. If he lands with what? Man, if he lands with one right hand, you're probably going to go out. He's so powerful. 11 knockout wins on his record so far. He's just such a powerful fighter. I've been fighting inside of ACB, inside of ACA. First knockout, third round submission, second round knockout, second round submission, fourth round knockout, and then a decision win in this last fight. I mean, the man is an absolute beast. So much power, really good wrestling skills, but in my opinion, in the striking game, I think Corey Anderson might actually have the advantage because Dolesani Morado usually is fighting other guys that don't really have the height and reach that Corey Anderson does, and Dolesani goes out there and he just tries to land that one big right hand and knock you out in the first or second round. That is what he does. If he cannot get that knockout, he goes for the takedown, tries to get you down, use that wrestling, use that grappling, and win the fight by TKO or submission on the ground. But when you're fighting a guy like Corey Anderson, who has a really good striking, has a height advantage, has a reach advantage, also has a really good wrestling, as we saw in that last fight with Melvin Manholt. It's going to be really hard for a guy like Dolesani Morado, who's going out there trying to land that one big shot and knock Corey Anderson out. And most likely, in my opinion, that is not going to happen. And he's going to then go for takedowns, trying to make this a wrestling and grappling type of fight. But Corey Anderson also is a wrestler and a grappler with really good takedowns, really good wrestling, and a really good grappling. So, I think the wrestling is going to be very even, honestly. Dolesani Morado, very good wrestler, very good ground and pound, pretty good submission skills. Corey Anderson, really good wrestling, really good ground and pound, and not really the best submission skills. But in the striking game, I think Corey Anderson will have the advantage, seeing that he does have the height advantage and the reach advantage. Dolesani Morado, the only thing he can do in the striking game, in my opinion, is land that one big right hand. In the grappling game, it's going to be so even. So because the grappling in the wrestling game is going to be so even, in the striking game, in my opinion, Corey Anderson will have the advantage, having the height advantage and having that reach advantage. I think Corey Anderson is going to keep the fight on the feet, and I think he will win the fight by decision. I think if there were to be a finish in this 5-round co-main event at Bellator 257, it would be by Dolesani Morado by TKO or KO in the first or second round. But if that does not happen, I think the fight is going to go all the way, and Corey Anderson is going to use that reach advantage. He's going to use that height advantage to win the fight by 30, or sorry, it's a 5-round fight, right? By 49-46 unanimous decision. Should be a really good fight. But guys, Dolesani Morado is no slouch whatsoever. Amazing striking and amazing wrestling. He's a beast as well, so this should be a really good co-main event right there. But I do have Corey Anderson winning the fight by 49-46 unanimous decision in the co-main event. And the winner of this fight is going to be fighting Ryan Bader. So I think Corey Anderson and Ryan Bader are going to fight to see who fights in the main event for the $1 million and the Bellator MMA light heavyweight belt. Possibly against Vadim Nemkov, possibly against Phil Davis, maybe Yoel Romero, maybe Anthony Johnson. We'll see about that in the next couple of weeks. But guys, we've reached the main event of Bellator 287. You guys already know what it is. For the Bellator MMA light heavyweight belt, we've got Vadim Nemkov and Phil Davis. This round is a 5-round main event. This is the second time these guys will be fighting each other. The last time they fought was, I believe, 2.5 years ago, and it was a split decision win for Vadim Nemkov in a super close fight. I mean, the wrestling was really even. Vadim Nemkov got a takedown on Phil Davis. A little bit of that time was spent in the clinch. Phil Davis did get a takedown and got Vadim Nemkov's back. I believe the end of the third round in their fight. It was a very close fight in the striking game. Vadim Nemkov was a much faster fighter in the striking striking game. I was using those leg kicks really, really good. His right hand, his jabs, everything was working well for him in that fight. But that third round, Phil Davis ended up coming back and winning that third round. The first, second round were really, really close. I mean, it was a really, really close 3-round fight that they had 2.5 years ago. But this fight in a 5-round main event for the Bellator MMA light heavyweight belt, this is a 5-round main event. It's going to the 4th and 5th round. Both fighters have a lot of power in their hands. Phil Davis and Vadim Nemkov combined have only been finished one time in their professional MMA career, and that one time was against Zirianas by first round knockout. You already know Zirianas has like 25 KO/TKO wins on his record. That is the only time either fighters have been finished by KO/TKO on their record. So I think this fight is 100% gonna go all the way. Both fighters are not really prone to getting finished by KO/TKO or submission. So I think this fight is gonna go all the way. Phil Davis is 36.5 years old, does have that height advantage, does have that reach advantage, 6'2" tall, so a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage over Vadim Nemkov in the fight. But in the striking game, I will give Vadim Nemkov the advantage. I mean, he just beat Ryan Bader by KO/TKO in the second round. I mean, he dropped Ryan Bader like 4 or 5 times combined in that fight. I mean, it was absolutely insane. Before that, beating Carvalho, before that, beating Phil Davis, and doing really, really good inside of Bellator. Before that, beating Felipe Lins and Liam McGarry. I mean, the man's an absolute beast. A lot of finishes on Vadim Nemkov's record, and a decent amount of finishes for Phil Davis. Look right here, 6 KO/TKO wins, 5 submission wins, and 11 decision wins. The fight's going all the way. I don't see a finish from Phil Davis, and I do not see a finish from Vadim Nemkov in the fight, because Phil Davis is just so durable. But this fight is staying on the feet. We might see a little bit here and there where we see the fight go into the clinch. Maybe we see Vadim Nemkov trying to kind of secure the round with a takedown or with some clinch shots, something like that. We might see the same exact thing from Phil Davis, because he also has some very, very good wrestling of his own, and might use that takedown, might use that ground and pound and submission skills to get the fight down and make it a little bit more of a grappling and clinch-based fight. But the only reason I see Vadim Nemkov or Phil Davis doing that is to secure the round. Other than that, the fight is staying on the feet, and this is going to be a kickboxing fight. But Vadim Nemkov, his leg kicks, his jabs, he's so fast, he moves so well. I think in the striking game, Vadim Nemkov will have the advantage. In my opinion, the only way Phil Davis will win the fight is if he goes out there and puts on the pressure on Vadim Nemkov in the striking game, and then goes for takedowns, gets him down, and wins the fight by decision in the grappling game, and putting on that pressure in the striking game. That is the main way I see Phil Davis winning the fight, but I do not think that is going to happen. I think Vadim Nemkov, one of the best light heavyweight fighters in the entire world, I think he's going to go out there and win this fight by unanimous decision. It's going to be a really, really close fight, just like the last time. But that was 2.5 years ago. Vadim Nemkov is getting more and more into his prime, becoming a more and more better fighter in the striking game, in the grappling game, in the wrestling game. Phil Davis is getting older and older, kind of diminishing his striking, diminishing his speed, diminishing his athleticism, all those types of things. So I think this fight is going to stay on the feet for the most part, and Vadim Nemkov, in my opinion, will have that advantage. So I am going to be going with Vadim Nemkov to secure that Bellator MMA light heavyweight belt and go on to fight Yoel Romero or Anthony Rumble Johnson, and the winner of that, in my opinion, will fight the winner of Ryan Bader and then Corey Anderson. A lot of really good fights for Bellator 257, Nemkov versus Davis 2. 13 fights on the entire fight. Vadim Nemkov, Phil Davis. I have Vadim Nemkov winning his fight. I have Corey Anderson winning against his fight. I have Paul Daley beating his fight. Sorry. I have the Zirianas winning in her fight. I have Lance Gibson Jr. winning in his fight. I have DeMarcus Jackson winning in his fight. I have Alfred Kasayan winning his fight. I have Victor Nemkov winning his fight. I have Julia Budd dominating her fight. I have JJ Wilson winning his fight. I have Mazvinel winning his fight. I have Steve Mowry dominating his fight. Probably going to be like a minus 2,000 favorite in that one. And then I have Julius and Glickis winning his fight. A lot of really good fights on the fight card. If you guys have any questions on any of these fights or Bellator 257, put that in the comment section below. A lot of really good fights. But yeah, that is my full card prediction for Bellator 257. Any questions, anything like that, put in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe, everything like that. But that is it, guys. That is my Bellator prediction.